This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. I'm looking forward to today's show. You know I do this for fun, folks. It's not about making money. It's a chance to discuss real issues with real people, the possibility of connecting with an audience. Hopefully I have something to say. I'm going to be joined soon, but because of logistics, my guest is going to be a little late. I'm going to be interviewing Javier Lopez. He is running for Congressional District 13 here in California. So that's Central Valley, kind of North Fresno, all the way up to South Modesto, pretty much running along that 99 corridor. And then in Fresno County and in Madera County, it shoots off to the west towards I-5. Anyway, he'll be joining me soon. But first, I'm going to deal with some just California issues. Since I'm going to be interviewing a guy running for a California job at a national level, a congressional candidate, I thought California issues were the right thing to deal with. Mostly when we talk about the train to nowhere, the bullet train. It's all bad news. Like, we've got nothing for our money, and to be fair, the only things we've gotten is some overpasses that wouldn't have been built that have a little bit of value. We've had a lot of farmers have to give up their land. In some cases, that train to nowhere, which we have not laid a single foot of track down for, separated a farmer's property, and he would have to go a couple miles around just to access the other side of his property. Well, I think that changes property values quite significantly. Makes it much harder to farm. So, again, mostly we hear about the billions of dollars in overruns on budget. How they promised us one price. It started somewhere around 80 billion and now it's somewhere around 130 billion. It started before Newsom, as is typical of Lord Gavin Newsom, long may he reign. He was against the bullet train before he was before the bullet train, because, he needs to be on every side of an issue whenever possible. Once he figures out how he can manipulate the system, gain the most power from the position he takes. Not a way of looking at it through do the right thing or the sensible common sense thing, but how can he get the most money or power? That's really typical of Gavin Newsom. So, some good news. First of all, the Trump administration said, no more money for this boondoggle. That's awesome. Now, the federal government was, as is the case for almost all large transportation projects, very much involved and pays a large percentage of whatever transportation project it is. That's kind of normal. That's not like something weird. That's normal. And the Trump administration went, you've gone over budget. You've shown almost zero success. Again, not a single foot of track. If we at least had a little short piece of track, we could put up a ride or something. Ride Gavin's train to nowhere. It'd take you down half a mile and turn around and take you back. You'd go nowhere to nowhere. That would seem appropriate. Another place that there's a lot of hope on this high-speed rail. Now, I don't mean hoping that it's going to get done, because I don't think it's going to get done. It's maybe the bleeding will stop. Our state is in severe debt. Remember during COVID, during those lockdowns, when Lord Newsom, long may he reign, decided that we needed to be locked down longer than anybody. We needed to keep our schools closed more than anybody, and we couldn't go to church. And then that jerk had the nerve to tell us, oh no, and you can't sing in church once we finally got back in church. But strip clubs remained open because that was a priority for him. That's crazy. So the federal government went, well, not only do we not want to keep wasting money here, but we're going to Doge the bullet train. In other words, they're going to come in and they're going to audit what's going on and try to figure out where the money's going. I think what we're going to find is that Gavin's friends and buddies, well, they got paid off. That's thoroughly what I'm expecting, but we'll see what actually happens. There's a third place where I'm pretty enthusiastic about what's happening with high-speed rail. Again, I want this doomed to failure project to stop. I want the bleeding to stop. So my goal is all about getting the bleeding to stop. At the state level, Assemblyman David Tangipa, he is my local personal assemblyman. Good guy, been nothing but pleased with David. Well, he passed a bill, the High-Speed Rail Accountability Bill, which was signed into law by Lord Gavin Newsom, long may he reign. This is a case where apparently Gavin thought that he could gain the most power or money by doing the right thing. I think they just coincidentally happened. I don't think he's focused on doing the right thing. I think he's focused on becoming Lord Gavin, supreme ruler of the earth. And I think he's first aiming for president, but I think he likes globalism. So anyway, this bill got signed into law. This bill is all about auditing what's happening. So you're coming in with a state auditor and a federal auditor. I'm hoping it's very similar to what the IRS does when they really want to get somebody in the audit them. I'm hoping it's very similar to what the Board of Equalization, they handle taxes for the state of California. It will be like a double anal exam for the people that are running high-speed rail. And I think that's appropriate because all they've done is waste our money. And then finally, some of the assemblymen and senators up in Sacramento are talking about not only ditching the project, but they've decided to turn it into a state park. So Train to Nowhere State Park. They're thinking they could put up amusements. They probably would have to build some track. We could go with that idea of where you could ride the track to nowhere. Maybe just a loop, so it took you right back where you started and you didn't actually do anything. And it would basically be a monument to the waste and abuse of power that government is capable of. We could have people come into California all around going, hey, did you see the Train to Nowhere? They go to Yosemite, the Train to Nowhere. They could see our beautiful coasts. I think that's appropriate. Anyway, enough fun. There are some now positives about the Train to Nowhere because I think the bleeding just might stop. I've got another place where California's not doing so well. The Democrats up in Sacramento seem to have lost their ever-loving minds. In response to the fact that ICE is deporting illegals, they wrote a very general bill called AB 495. And yes, for my out-of-state listeners, that means Assembly Bill 495, and California is as crazy as I'm about to discuss. This one hasn't made it all the way through, but there's a good chance that it will. So, really what it does is it enables anybody that's up to no good, though they could be somebody legitimate. Let's say the intent was if a parent was deported, they need somebody to step in and take care of their kid. So they're deported through ICE, and then with just filling out a form, somebody can come in and all of a sudden, with no background check, they don't have to show ID, they don't have to prove citizenship, there's no oversight at all from any governing body, they don't get fingerprints, there's no site inspection, there's no court oversight. All of a sudden, this new person who just fills out this form makes education and medical decisions for that kid. Now, here's where the system could easily be abused, because let's face it, I'm right in one of the hubs for human trafficking. Right here in Central California. I'm sad to say that, and it needs to be shut down. But if somebody showed up and they knew the kid's name and they had the form filled out, even if that kid had two normal parents that normally took care of things, the school district is not supposed to let the regular parents know this is all of a sudden the new guardian. Well, if that person now makes all education decisions and all medical decisions, they can just take off with that kid. This makes it really easy Now, what if you had a troubled teen that maybe didn't like their parents? Well, if their boyfriend was over 18, and they were under, like a pedophile kind of situation where you're abusing minors, they could have that person because there's, again, no oversight. That's how short-sighted and how little common sense there is up in Sacramento. The good news is we've defeated this kind of crazy bill here in California before. And so I'm going to also now tell you, well, I hope this doesn't all happen. But again, it's going to allow somebody to fill out a form, never show ID, take custody of a kid, now have both education and medical control of the kid, and there's no oversight. So anybody that's got a kid needs to be worried about this because the school is not supposed to inform the parents. Not supposed to, according to the bill. So this one needs to be stopped. But California Democrats, the one-party corrupt rule, very much tried to do a similar thing. They decided that, well, they really don't want prostitution to be anything but a misdemeanor. And they decided that they should include 16 and 17-year-olds as just a misdemeanor, even though the person buying them would be overage, meaning over 18. And they didn't want that to be a felony. And the Republicans went to social media because, let's face it, this is a Republican Democrat state. There's really almost nobody holding any other office at a statewide level. And the Republicans are vastly outnumbered. But we had enough of a fit, and we got that bill shut down. So in other words, there are moments of hope. Another moment of hope, and this one I'm excited about. We have a ballot initiative process. Largely, I think California has this because we have legislators that can't get things done. This is a way to override what's happening with the legislative process. That they take an issue to the voters and essentially write a law through the voters. This is the voter ID ballot initiative. Don't know what number it's going to get. It is soon to be out in mid-October, so you can sign actual legal petition. But at this point, you can go to voteridcalifornia.com. You can also go to Reform California, which is Carl DeMaio's group, and find it there. When you sign up online, it doesn't count as if you've actually signed the petition, but it gives them a list of people that they now can mail the petition to. Because if you're willing to do that and give them an email and get updates on what's happening with this bill, then they know that you're very likely to sign it. So this is a way to, before the actual hard signatures are happening, get information from people. So the ballot ID initiative really leaves me excited. I'm going to leave it at it's got 3 elements. One is proof of citizenship. The other is voter ID is required when you vote in person. And the third one is counties are required to clean up the voter rolls. I really hope this initiative passes because it is an opportunity for us to clean up what's happening with our voting system. Now, I am happy to say I am now joined by congressional candidate for District 13, Javier Lopez. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone.
Okay, so I got to talk for just a minute because we got a small technical difficulty. I got to meet this gentleman up at the Merced Lincoln Reagan dinner, and I'm kind of excited. I believe that we need some common sense come into that district, and I believe that this man can provide that common sense. We ready to roll, Phil? Okay. You are on screen.
Can we get a mic check? Okay, we're good to go.
All right, welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to be here today.
Oh, no, glad. I was happy to coordinate with Molly because I know you're speaking at the CRA later tonight. I will be there as soon as we're done here.
Great.
Why'd you choose to run?
Well, we talked a little bit about it last time, right?
Right.
I think that was the first opportunity that you had to meet me. I had just won my mayoral race in city of Ceres.
So that's the north end of your district.
Yes, that's correct. And I got a phone call. I won't say who. They had asked me to run because they were not running. And of course, being the kind of person that I am, I told myself, if there's someone who would take on this task, why not me? So I went ahead and threw my hat in the race.
Cool.
It's been a great time since that day. It almost seems like it's been 6 months. It just, time flies, right?
Especially when you're having fun.
Oh, especially when you're having fun. You know, as far as the real whys is just like the reason why I ran for office the first time in the city of Ceres, and that was basically I wanted to have a voice. But see, the thing is that a lot of folks out there, they don't feel they have that voice, right?
No, that's part of like this voter ID.
Right.
A lot of people are apathetic. They think, well, my vote doesn't matter. I don't have to do anything. Yet they want all these great benefits and these blessings we have to live here.
It matters.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you why it matters. Because they came out to vote and they reelected me in the city of Ceres. And now there's a great opportunity for us to take this seat back in California District 13. And a lot of folks are, they wanted someone like myself to run, and now they got it. But the thing is that we need all the support that we can get.
Now, it's a huge portion of your district is agriculture.
Yes, very true.
A huge portion of your district is Hispanic.
That's right.
So it's kind of rural. You're dealing a lot with working class people.
That's correct.
Look, I've worked in the fields, so don't take this as I'm putting anybody down. I've lived this. It taught me, that hard work taught me, wow, I want to do something different. I'm not saying it's not real work. I am thankful for the lessons.
No,
and I think more
hard
people need those lessons.
It's hard work. I mean, my mom, she worked in the field. She decided to come back after she got married with my father. And I know that the same place where she owns her home now is where she picked strawberries in the community.
Very cool.
So, hard work was taught to me by my parents. I went off to work in a different trade as a technician. You're in this wonderful United States of America with all these opportunities. You have to take it by the hand. You have to take it on. And I think that I took that opportunity, and I've been successful since then. And I always look back and see where my family came from, and I think it's very unique.
Well, so the American dream's still alive. You just have to work.
It's there. The thing is that I think a lot of Americans just need to just really focus and really take on these challenges. I know it's not easy, right?
Look, anything worthy of doing is not easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, I think what the people of the Central Valley really want is they want better paying jobs. They want lower gas. They really care more about how they're going to get the food on the table than they care about a lot of other things. There's folks like us in this room who are a little bit more into politics than others.
Yeah, but not everybody's as political.
That's right.
So they want some basic things like you're talking
that's
about.
What when you say common sense, we have to have someone like myself who has common sense and will make common sense decisions. And once they show up to the ballot box and they cast their vote, they're depending on who they elect to take on these challenges, and
especially if you're working two jobs, if you've got a bunch of kids, it's hard.
That's what I'm here to fight for.
Yep. Well, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. Won't be long. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So when we come back,
yes,
I would love to hear your top three.
Okay.
What are your top three priorities, and how can you implement them? Let's go ahead and come back, Phil. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. I am joined by California congressional candidate, right here in the Central Valley, District 13. He's trying to take over from Adam Gray and do a better job. I am joined by Javier Lopez. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
So what would be your priorities? What are you going to focus on? What are your top three? I mean, it doesn't have to be three, but you can't give us 12 because people are like, well, where is your really priority? Well,
if you want to see my top 15, go to my website. But let's just talk about what's important for everyone in this room.
Okay.
Agriculture. food and water. You know, we need to make sure that we stop sending water into the ocean and come up with better solutions to capture that water. Wanted me to move the microphone. Okay, hold on. There you go. And I think that's one of the main priorities. Is that's the trickle down effect, right? If we have plenty of water in abundance,
then we'll have a product that people want.
and we can
We grow
this food.
80% in the Central Valley, 80% of the produce for the country.
That's right.
This is essential.
It is essential, and it's one of those things where anybody that travels through the Central Valley, they probably drive through our valley and say, "Oh, this area is only nothing but a bunch of ag and cows," right?
No, it is a bunch of ag and some cows, but that stuff is absolutely needed because no matter whether you're on the right or the left, you got to eat.
Correct.
And this is a renewable resource. We shouldn't be thinking of a zero-sum gain with agriculture. It's a renewable resource that we can thrive off of for generations if we limit the regulation and we have water. So how are you going to get us some water?
So here's what I think. I think that it's important that we make sure that we send somebody to Congress who cares about the farmers and the Central Valley. We have to come up with common sense solutions. You know, there's been a lot of promises been made as long as I've been able to vote. I'm 41 years old, okay?
I'm a little older.
Yeah.
That's nothing new.
That's not that. I think what's important to understand is that there's been opportunities, but they've kind of been pushed to the wayside, right? And if anybody with common sense understands that, you know, when you go to Congress, it's not a magic wand, but there has to be a joint effort if you want to accomplish some of these goals that we have. And I think if we come up with a solution that will allow us to store more water, then we can set up the future to be in a better place. It's not going to happen overnight.
No, and it needs to be a partnership with the state.
That's correct.
Because the state controls a large portion of what happens with water, but the federal also does. And federal has failed during my lifetime to get more water. Sykes Reservoir has been sitting there with, a large amount of funding. There was a bond passed. I can't remember the number.
And nothing has been done since then.
And nothing's been done.
State of California does have a lot of regulations. Some that are probably a little bit overbearing. Some that are causing some of our farmers to farm less, unfortunately. I won't get into too many details, but you know, if anybody from the state is listening right now and they hear someone like me talking about how we can best come up with a solution, it's going to have to be a coordinated plan. I'm here to support, but we have to have somebody who's willing to do the work, and I think I'm that person.
So obviously water,
Yes,
important.
water, yes.
And again, go ahead and give your website. We'll come back to this, but I want to give it now so that if they don't catch it this time, they'll get
Right.
it at the end. But
It'll be JavierForCongress.com.
okay, and any social medias handles?
Absolutely. Just like you see it there on the website, you can see me on Instagram, Facebook, and also X. Same thing, Javier for Congress.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I've listened to a lot of it on Instagram and always try to like because I'm enthusiastic.
You'll see that my social media platform is very active. I have no problem being in front of the camera, especially talking about topics that everybody really cares about. So you asked me what are some other priorities. You know, just like as a local mayor, as someone like who is a local mayor, will be supporting local elected officials, and a lot of the things that we need to really focus on is law enforcement. That's very, very important. We need to make sure that we have the laws that are being put in place, that they're actually being executed. For example, we saw.
So you want accountability?
Accountability is it's a common sense concept, right? We have had for the longest time too many folks that have been allowed to just run rampant in crime in our communities, and we just recently passed a piece of legislation here in the state of California that allows our law enforcement to take action.
So that Prop 36?
That's correct. So why did it take this long? Because the amount of pressure that came from the elected officials in law enforcement. You know, why does it have to come to that point? I mean, I'll give you an example. For the last 20 plus years, well, actually now it's -4 since I've been elected official, as I would travel to San Francisco for what I thought back in the 2000s was a great city. As I started
Formerly great city, I think is the right way to put
well,
that.
I heard they have a new mayor. Let's fingers crossed. Okay. The fact that, you know, there was all these folks that would just run rampant in that community, committing crimes such as breaking into windows, into vehicles, stealing, and walking into stores and just taking the store for everything they have. And we allowed it to continue for so long. It's something that I would not allow even in my city. So that is the first step into trying to resolve some of these issues that we face.
Well,
now,
if you don't feel safe in your community, can your community be prosperous? I'd say no.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it's no hidden secret that there's places here in California that maybe you and me wouldn't go, right? I would imagine that in the Central Valley that, as an underserved community, we are doing everything in our power to keep our community safe, including my city. And I want to continue that. And I think that it's important that we do that.
Yes, I'm in, because of what I do for a living, I'm occasionally been in areas where it's not particularly safe. And I've had some problems with gang members. And I don't want to go back.
And how do we change that? And so,
they were felt free to act like thugs in the middle of the day.
So as a coach, I've coached many students throughout my career as a football coach. And sometimes what you need to do is you need to encourage these young men and women that they have other opportunities. Some of these young kids only have football. And in the essence of trying to build their character, we can start building a new generation of young kids who want to be successful. So we have to change the culture.
But you have to find something that they connect with. Football, it could be any number of things, but football is a good one because it teaches discipline.
It teaches discipline. Yes, it does. And
teamwork.
And teamwork, absolutely. If for example, and I know we're kind of getting sidetracked, but if you were to apply to a job and the supervisor seen that you were a former athlete or current athlete, they're gonna see your references. They're gonna call the coaches and they're gonna ask the question:
was this guy? Yeah, what'd this guy do?
Yeah, is this young man or young woman coachable? And I think that we need to have more of that. Have more of that in order to change the culture of what we see in our community. To the underserved community, they need more opportunities. Not a handout, they just need more opportunities. And if you're living in a community where you're afraid to go out at night or the crime is high, then you either you need to get out of that community, or you need to do everything in your power and get together with everybody and try to build that community back.
See, I'm blessed and I live in Clovis. I feel very safe in Clovis. I'm referring to our sister city where it's not quite so good in some areas.
So Fresno.
And they're overwhelmed.
What's the population of Fresno right now?
Close to 800,000. Clovis is about 120, and then the rest of the county gets us to about 1,200,000, right close to that. I'm close. I'm slightly off, but I'm close.
There's a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
And people need opportunities. And that's when we talk about jobs, we talk about water resources, we talk about the community. Those are the things that we as elected officials are taking to task to try to at least come up with solutions. We can't fix everything, but we are here to do the people's work.
Well, if you can give them a safe community or work towards it, at least.
Yes.
If you can engage the underserved communities and make them feel listened to so that they'll try. Frankly, hope is one of the things that's missing from a lot of underserved communities. I volunteered at a boys' home, and every one of those boys was either a gang member, hopefully former gang member, though I'm fully aware a lot of them were not former. Good facility, had a pretty good track record, and I was a volunteer. I got paid for 1 month and went, I don't want to do this. This is hard. And I prayed about it. And I went, well, wait a minute. What if I take this from a different perspective and I just volunteer? I wouldn't give those 8 years up. That's a treasured memory. I've since moved on and I'm doing other things, but it really made me more thankful for the opportunities in my life. And I hope I did some good. We need to get back to seeing everybody's humanity, and everybody should do something to help their community.
That's one of the reasons why I decided to run for office in the first place. I can tell you right now that I do it for the outcome of the success of people and the relationships that I've built in my community. And I think that with that experience, I'll do a great job in Congress. Well, there's a lot of things that have been going very well.
No, there's... We have a very divided country.
We you can say we do, and I'm not arguing it, but I'm saying there's things that we have done well, but there's still things that we can improve on and we can work on, is what I'm trying to get to.
There's an optimist point of view.
You know what? That's just, I guess because I'm a Libra, that's just how I think. You know, I think that if you want to talk about the divide in this country, it's because no one's willing to listen. I walked into the room where folks already have a perception of the direction of the conversation, or a perspective of what they think about me and my views, but I'm a huge listener.
Well, half of leadership is listening.
Well, I mean, for the most part, if I have an issue in front of me, I have to listen to see what the concerns are so we can make a good decision.
Well, and as an elected, you also had to represent all of the people of, in this case, Ceres.
Yeah.
As opposed to just the ones that were supporting what you had to say in your perspective.
Oh,
it totally changes.
Yeah,
your relationship with.
I can tell you that there's people out there that communicate me in very different ways. Some that you run into, and some that will send you a message at late in the evening, and you know, I think that by me answering their questions, they feel that their voice is being heard, and I think that's just half the battle.
So, agriculture, law enforcement, water, those are your big three?
Those are some of the.
Well, I get it's hard to narrow it down to a few.
I mean,
because there's a ton of things going on.
If you want to look at it from a national level, as a congressman, I think that, you know, there's things that we can still resolve that's happening on our border. I think at the moment we do have probably a better secure border than we did have 4 years ago against the Biden administration. But there's still issues that we need to resolve. Sex trafficking, fentanyl coming over our border. I think people don't realize that just because we've seen some of that gone down, that the cartel is not innovative enough to try to find a loophole and now try to come in from the north border.
Oh, they totally will. Or from the water borders.
Right. So I think, well, that exclusively, yes. So that's one issue that I think that we will continue to be faced with. There's a vast amount of other issues that I think that we can address when I do win, being optimistic, and I have those set of issues in front of me. Let me just switch a little bit. I think that what's important too is to understand that when you're in Congress, you have to understand and represent your community, because what is good for the Central Valley might not be good for the East Coast, versus vice versa. So what's important for our community, right? Things that affect us here in California versus somewhere else. So I'm here to fight for our community.
Well, and you need to know, because you're never going to get everything you want. That's the art of a legislative body and working within it.
Right.
That's the politics of it. You have to decide, here's my things that I won't bend on. And everything else is unfortunately up for negotiation.
Yeah, you have to work. You have to work together and be cohesive. Yeah. You know, I'm no longer a rookie elected, right? I had a couple 4 years under my belt, and now I understand the process. Creating networks and also working with other elected officials will get you farther.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you see, assuming you're elected, do you see people that would be allies in Congress?
I do. I do see I see a lot in California. We're a minimal group, but that doesn't mean that you can't walk across the aisle and work with other elected officials from the other party. It happens in the Central Valley.
It does happen in the Central Valley.
And I think there's a misconception that and that's where we talk about the divide. Now I will tell you that I am very conservative and Republican, so you would never see me sway to a liberal perspective or make decisions based on that. But that doesn't mean that I won't work with the other side.
If you're in Congress, what do we do about the debt? Obviously, you can only do a little piece, but that's a huge one. People are worried about that.
Yeah, people are very worried about the debt. You know, I can tell you that you have to be fiscally responsible. You know, even in our city, we had recently passed a budget that was not a balanced budget, but also.
But you can't print money at the city level, so it's a bigger problem.
I wouldn't want to do that either. But also understanding that in our budget, our revenue has not came in yet. It won't happen until January. So the budget is a what we consider a future budget in a
Right.
sense. We need to operate.
Right, because you're working on grants, you're working on property tax, you're
Yeah.
working on sales tax, and
Correct.
property and sales tax get there when they get there.
Yeah. So
That-
8% of our budget is actually law enforcement
Yeah.
and fire.
That is typical.
Yes, typical. So we need to keep the city protected. And if I say that I'm supportive of law enforcement, that's somewhere where I would not budge.
Okay.
When you get to Congress and you see that we have obviously a huge debt, it's gonna take the entire house in order for us to continue to move. I mean, I think that what I will do is make sure that I go over every single line item, just as I do currently.
Wait, that's a crazy idea. We're supposed to read the bill?
Oh, I tell
I'm
people
only
all-
being sarcastic
I
there.
know you are, and I tell people that, like, for example, when I sit down with friends and family and we talk about what's on the ballot, and I go, hey, we can actually go online and read the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And they always depend on me to read it right. So I'm going over it, and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, you have to read the bill.
No, I want to have a conversation. I never want to just give them answers.
No,
I've done a voter guide for the last several years in my name, but I really don't want them to just take it there. I want them to see that as a starting point and ask me questions so they can better understand issues and be fully informed. It's not enough to just take somebody's word.
That is half the battle. I mean, the average voter really cares a lot about the things that we talked about, putting food on the table. And, I encourage anybody who's watching this show that although it may feel like it's a huge undertaking, you go ahead and take the next step to really dive deep.
But they don't have to do it all at once.
I mean,
You can take one little piece at a time.
Oh yeah, we live in an age where technology is there for us. I mean, if you, however you want to do it, figure it out.
Absolutely. I think there's a great opportunity and a huge variety of news sources. So you can do things like ground news is kind of interesting. It's a new way to approach news. It's essentially a site that lists all of these, say it's about child trafficking. And they'll give every story and all the sources. And then they'll rate them. Is the right or the left talking about this more? Were they giving it focus? Were they negative about it? Were they positive about it? So you get a little more. You get their take, and then you have all these sources where you can read for yourself. I thought that was a really interesting way to approach looking at what's happening, because there's so much information. It's hard to figure it out occasionally if you're not, especially if you're not rooted in politics.
I think a lot of people have their specific source that they go to, whether it's radio, whether it's online, or your radio station. So don't be afraid to kind of go out and look into things a little bit further, just because you see a caption or what we call a clickbait. Don't automatically assume that that's exactly the entire story, and then
No.
also don't go off and tell your friends that did you hear but did not actually read the article.
Right. That is great advice.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take our last break.
Okay.
Won't be long.
Thank you.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. So that you know, I like to focus on hope and solutions for the last portion. It's really easy to complain about it. I'm not saying you are.
No, yeah,
You've been pretty positive, which is cool. So let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. I am joined by California congressional candidate for District 13, Javier Lopez. It's right in the heart of the Central Valley. The top end of the district starts in southern Modesto.
Fresno to all the way up here to Lathrop. Well, we're opposite. I'm in
Yeah,
Fresno now.
I'm working my way from the north down. It swings out towards 5 when you get into Fresno County, but it avoids most of the city of Fresno.
Right.
It is essentially from about Highway 41 west. It covers that part of Madera County,
Right.
all of Merced County.
All
I
of
get
Merced.
it pretty close.
Yeah, all the way to up into where I live in Ceres. Well, actually, Lathrop.
Okay. Lathrop is just above Ceres, right?
Yeah, a little bit further, maybe about 20, 30 minutes, roughly.
Oh, it's that far. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when here in California, we experienced what I thought was COVID tyranny. And I thought that the Constitution, in a lot of ways, was ignored at the state level. What would you have done different?
I'll tell you
And what did your city do different during COVID?
So here's what I'll tell you. So I don't know if a lot of folks know this, but I was actually elected during COVID. So I ran my campaign without having the ability
To knock on doors.
To knock on doors. And,
Wow.
if someone did, well, they just probably did without, you know. But understanding that I was in a situation where I could knock on doors, I fully ran my campaign online to get my message out to the public. The moment I was elected was when I got sworn in was the only time that I actually wore a mask of the dais. And obviously there's so much misinformation that was out there. I had the opportunity to have several meetings up to about 6-7 months without an audience. No one in the dais. But there was a time where we did have a lot of folks trying to tell us in the city of Ceres that we had to force our staff to get vaccinated. So I made a statement, and you guys can look this up online, the Modesto Bee. I said that if you want to go ahead and take your vaccine, that's on you. You're more than welcome to do it. But I would not support the idea or the concept of forcing anything on anyone. And it wasn't a story that anybody really wanted to print because it wasn't controversial, but it was common sense.
It was common sense.
Right, it was common sense.
How long was your city shut down?
Well, it was actually obviously shut down during the time that I was running for office.
Okay.
And then when I came in, we didn't really fully open until like 2020. Maybe I could be wrong about this. A little bit after 2021, maybe 2022.
Okay.
We actually had an audience. So there was so many different things that were happening in our community. We know we just support of any testing that was, we try to help people out if they wanted to get tested. Mind you, I was still working at the time, so I had to travel to the Bay Area all the time. COVID, in my personal opinion, was handled in a way where it controlled the public way more than they should have. It was almost like I would consider it a very big overreach.
Well, I consider all 5 aspects of the First Amendment were trampled on.
Oh, especially in California. I mean, there was other states that weren't even doing this.
Right.
So we were blindfolded. We were led to believe that every other state was doing the same thing. And then come to find out that some of the things that they told us weren't actually true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not going to take away from anybody who passed away, right? But I will tell you this much: if I was the governor at the time, I would have not done what he did. But as an elected official, I did everything in my power to protect our citizens. I did everything in my power to give people choice.
Well, I would say that was part of the problem. I understand you're looking out for your people, but I would contend that I would rather a politician looked out for my liberty rather than my health.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I didn't ignore it in the city of Ceres.
Now, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just trying to give a sense of...
Your statement is accurate. Yeah, and there was many politicians out there who did exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
That was not me. There was a little bit of pushback, even from some elected officials around me, but I stood my ground.
Good.
Several months after I made that comment about the vaccination, it was lifted. Mm-hmm. And some of those very same people who thought they were going to lose their job if they didn't get vaccinated, all of a sudden, if they would have held out, they would have been just fine.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part about during that time.
Well, I pray for all the people that took the vaccination because there seems to be complications, and I hope that
Yes, I've heard
we work our way through it.
I heard so many stories, and I'll tell you this much: it not only affected us in that way, but it also affected a lot of young people with their mental health. As we actually, big time. So I'll give you a quick story. As a football coach, we actually during that season of COVID, we didn't get to have our full 10 games. We only had 5. We had to get tested every single day. We were playing football in the football field without an audience. It was awkward. We had to wear masks when we're out in the football field or the CIF. These are things coming down from the CIF. And also the school district, right? But the school district, I think the school district was trying to do their best to balance everything. I think we kind of got lucky in the city of Ceres. But that affected so many students as COVID was kind of dwindling away. We still see the effects till this day on the football field.
Right, even on the football field. Okay.
Because what happened was that some of these kids' social skills were taken away.
Mm-hmm.
These kids were at home on Zoom, and they would just leave their Zoom on, and they would just go off and do something else. So as part of being football coaches, our job is to mentor these young kids and obviously teach them skills. But it took us a little bit of time, and now we're just starting to see a little bit of change. We would hear the stories from these young folks. I mean, I even heard the stories from these coaches, grown men and women, who this hit them hard because they couldn't be out there doing the thing that they loved.
I walked 9 miles a day for 2 months because I was losing my mind. Because a lot of my family decided it was better to hide so they wouldn't see me in person. Oh, I could talk to them through the window kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Fortunately, Clovis reopened May 18th of 2020. No, excuse me, May 8th. May 8th. So we closed down March 18th. We reopened May 8th. And they didn't enforce anything to do with masks. They didn't stop you if you wanted to wear them. And they said, go back to work. They didn't pick winners and losers like so many cities did, like our sister city did. And they said, well, you're essential, but you're not. Well, when you're trying to feed your family, I think you consider whatever it is you're doing pretty darn essential.
Right.
We're down to about 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So I don't want to take up all the time.
No.
I want you, why are you the right guy? Why are you hopeful?
For one, I'm going to be honest with the people here. I'm here to gain your vote, in a sense, to earn it. I'm not asking for your vote. And see what I have done in my community in the city of Ceres, and the things that I will be able to accomplish as a congressman will be the things that I talked about today. But I'll also tell you that you have a choice to make. Choose someone who claims to be a moderate, Adam Gray, or choose somebody who is common sense. And we have a great opportunity to take this seat back, and we will accomplish that.
Well, that's a huge deal. Are you fluent in Spanish?
Sí hablo español. And I think that there's a lot of Latinos out there.
I think that's needed to build a bridge.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the things we need to do is build a bridge between those communities. When they vote, they don't vote in high percentages I'd like, because I want every citizen to be involved.
Yeah.
But they haven't been courted by the Republican Party. We got to go out, understand their values, build a bridge, and talk to them.
Yeah.
Make them understand why the Republicans are the party of common sense.
The Latino community holds a lot of the same values as the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. Take me as an example, as somebody who's been successful, and we can do this and accomplish this together. So thank you very much for this opportunity. JavierForCongress.com. You can follow me on social media, and I look forward to coming back.
Well, I look forward to listening to you speak. For my Fresno listeners at 7 Restaurant, that's the corner of Minnewawa and Shaw, he will be speaking tonight. This is Tuesday the 4th?
The 5th.
Tuesday, August 5th.
It's also National Night Out, so.
Okay. Well, thank you for this time, Javier.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town.
Thank you. Good.